I can tell you, Parker, what I think one of the emotional drivers was behind the origins of Christianity and why it was so astoundingly powerful and remains so throughout the world to this day, is that polytheism is moral relativism. And the avenues of the gods that infested the increasingly secular Roman world back in the day, where it was a buffet, right? You could go and pick whatever gods you wanted, and they all had different rules and so on.
Sure.
But that is the theological equivalent of radical moral relativism. None of these religions claimed to be the absolute true and universal truth. That was the Christians who came along and said, these are the false gods. These are leading you astray. There is one true God, and Jesus is his son. And right now, it is the same motivation, I think, that motivated the early Christians. Is the same motivation that motivates me, which is I am literally and viscerally repulsed by relativism.
Relative truth, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There's no such thing as right and wrong. There's no such thing as good and bad.
it makes me cringe.
Morality is just a cultural opinion. And who are you to say who's right and who's wrong and who's good and who's bad? And you got to chillax and, just let things hang out and don't be such a square. And, like all of this vile. It's like antifreeze in the blood. It tastes good on the tongue and kills you in the innards.
Indeed.
And moral relativism is the natural result of expanding state power. Expanding state power must produce moral relativism, which in turn produces expanding state power. Because it divides human beings into the makers and the takers, as I've talked about before, the people who produce stuff and then the people who use the power of the state to take stuff from them. And in order to avoid the bad conscience that they have for being violent, aorta-sucking parasites, they have to pretend that there's no such thing as right and wrong. I mean, people who do good are not afraid of objective standards of right and wrong. Evil people are terrified of objective standards of right and wrong, which is why when a philosopher comes along who dares to espouse objective morality, all but the good attack that person. It's continual throughout history. And it is so repulsive, moral relativism.
I totally agree.
That people feel that it unravels the very physics of civilization itself. It's like the soft ash that covers Pompeii. It's like the gentle tremors that eventually bring down a building, though it can be years, as the rot and creaking spreads through its foundation. Moral relativism is the sinkhole that sucks down the entire cathedral of civilization.